Diamonds, children, and witchcraft. Diamonds, the top export in the Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC), are mostly extracted from the middle of the country at Kasai Oriental Province. Yet people there are among the poorest in the DRC, and diamonds seem to be tearing apart their society. Children do much of the work, and many are killed in accidents or infighting over diamonds. Distrust is feeding superstition and causing a strange and terrible phenomenon. Thousands of children are being accused of witchcraft. About 20 kilometers east of the provincial capital Mbuji-Mayi is a place known in the Luba language as Muambulia Bantu. It's a green, fertile valley with rolling hills, but beneath the beauty lurks danger. The earth is pockmarked with holes up to 28 meters deep, almost 100 feet. The smaller the person, the better they can maneuver once they've been lowered down the rope. The boy at the bottom of the hole is Punda Leon. It's dark down here, he says. From that far down, the daylight above is just a pinprick. He has been there since 7 a.m. It is now midday. He is employed by an adult to dig out the dirt and put it into sacks, which he then ties to a rope. The sacks are pulled to the surface. Other children employed by the same man carry them down the hill to a creek where they wash the dirt in a sieve, picking out what in Luba is called imbongo, diamonds. All of a sudden a cry goes up, imbongu. Imbongu, a boy has found one and instantly hides it in his mouth. The children occasionally find diamonds worth thousands of dollars but are not allowed to keep them, says Charles Chibanza, a sociologist from Mbuji-Mayi University. These children have no protection except from the people exploiting them. Their lives are at risk. Most are here because they were abandoned by their families, he adds. The number of children abandoned in Mbuji-Mayi is staggering. Chibanza conducted a survey in 1999 and counted almost 10,000. He started updating the survey and says it's clear there are now many more. He blames sorcery. Many people here believe in witchcraft. It's part of the Luba tradition, although what is happening today in Mbuji-Mayi is something new. Before, if someone was accused of having demonic powers, the village would take the person and make them go through a purification ceremony. No one would ever be thrown out of their homes, certainly not a child. What's happening today is a result of urbanization and desperation caused by diamonds, says Chibanza. What exactly do diamonds and witchcraft have to do with each other? Chibanza says it is a matter of ongoing research. What is clear is that diamond mining accounts for at least 70% of the economy in and around Mbuji-Mayi. Yet despite a few garish mansions, most people live in mud huts without electricity or running water. Though the region is fertile, people don't have enough to eat. Farming does not offer the possibility of sudden wealth in the same way as diamonds. But diamonds bring frustration and breed distrust and superstition. There is a climate of fear here. Some people are capitalizing on the fear. On almost every street corner in Mbuji-Mayi there's a house of worship. Many are local Congolese churches headed by self-appointed preachers, who have set themselves up as exorcists, such as Jean-Pierre Onakovcheko. He lives in a hut with many children. Some children that come to me, I look at them and see they have been falsely accused of witchcraft. Some just imagine they are witches, and then there are others who are witches. I use the Holy Spirit in me to divine who is really a witch. Then I use my powers of prayer to cleanse them, says Onakoko. There is a 12-year-old girl with him, Konku Monique, whose parents threw her out for being a witch, an accusation she vehemently denies. She says she came to Onakoko because she had nowhere else to turn, and because she wants to make sure she never becomes a witch. I have seen priest Onakoko exorcise child witches. Terrible things come out of their mouths. I have seen a child vomit up a live insect, a very big insect. I was very scared. I am still scared that something like this could happen to me, says Konku. Priests like Onakoko are part of a vicious circle of diamonds, witchcraft and death in which the children get caught. Those worst off join armed groups known as suiciders, which cross illegally into the province's richest diamond area south of Mbuji-Mayi called the Polygon, owned by MIBA, the state diamond mining company. There, children often get caught in gun battles with MIBA's security forces and many are killed or disappear forever. The United Nations Children's Fund (UNICEF) is trying to help the abandoned children with special schools, teaching carpentry and other trades to encourage the children to seek alternative sources of income. Says UNICEF Child Protection Assistant Lisette Konde, "We have many successes, but this problem will continue as long as so many people are impoverished and as long as diamonds offer the false hope of prosperity." Up the road from the Muambulia Bantu diamond fields is a small village where adults and children are gathered at what looks like a little market, but here the trade is in diamonds. In each stall a dealer sits with a set of scales and a pile of US dollars. The clients are mostly barefoot children. One of them stands before a dealer with his mouth open wide, showing little diamonds on his tongue. "If he's lucky he'll get a few dollars," says Konde. But it's more likely the boy is cheated or ends up dead at the bottom of an abandoned diamond pit. From this market the dealers take the diamonds into town and sell them to bigger dealers, many Lebanese, who say they never buy diamonds from children under the age of 15. The head of the Diamond Dealers Association in Mbuji Mayi is Alphonse Ngoyi Kasanji, who a few years ago sold a diamond for $6.2 million United States dollars. Using children to mine diamonds is a crime. But the government is doing nothing to stop it, and when I buy a diamond from an adult I have no idea if it was mined by a child, he says. Dealers such as Kasanji take their diamonds to Belgium, India and Israel and sell them to bigger merchants, who know even less about how their stones were brought out of the ground. There is a worldwide system to verify diamonds. But this Kimberley process is designed to stop rebel armies from buying guns with diamonds, not to verify anybody's age. Until the problem is addressed, children in Mbuji Mayi will continue their dangerous work and many will continue to die. The role of Islam in the Arab slave trade. In our research for the manifestation of truth, we have discussed the role of Christianity in the European slave trade. It is therefore necessary to know also what were the moral supports of the Second African Holocaust. Does Islam allow slavery? Yes, Islam allows the enslavement of human beings. Though the Islam prophet Muhammad condemned the practice and encouraged the freeing of slaves, other passages from the Quran regulate and thus condone slavery. Here are some excerpts. Surah 33, verse 52, "Not lawful to you are any additional women after, nor for you to exchange them for wives, even if their beauty were to please you, except what your right hand possesses. And ever is Allah over all things, an observer." Surah 16, verse 71, "And Allah has favored some of you over others in provision. But those who were favored would not hand over their provision to those whom their right hands possess, so they would be equal to them therein. Then is it the favor of Allah they reject." Surah 4, verse 24, "And also prohibited to you are all married women except those your right hand possesses." Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. "Indeed, Allah is ever knowing and wise." Surah 23, verse 1, "Blessed are the Muslims, that preserve their sex from intercourses, except with their wives and slaves that they own." Surah 33, verse 50, "O Prophet, we have made lawful to you your wives to whom you have given their due compensation and those thy right hand possesses out of the captives that Allah has intended to you." Surah 24, verse 33, "Do not compel your slave girls to prostitution, if they desire chastity, to seek thereby the temporary interests of worldly life. And if someone should compel them, then indeed, Allah is to them, after their compulsion, forgiving and merciful." Did slavery in the Muslim world only target blacks? No, slavery in the Muslim world did not specifically target blacks. If the curse of Ham, the black, was known by Muslim theologians, it has not been used like in the example of Christianity to designate the Kamites, blacks, in the setting of servitude. If Islam does not generally distinguish between races, there is clearly a difference between its followers, believers, and those who are not non-believers. In the Islamic philosophy, humans are divided into two categories. The unbelievers are eventually doomed to become believers by the so-called holy war, jihad, or by persuasion. on Muslims, especially vitalists, animists, are thus seen as subhumans and labeled with insults like idolater, pagan, kafir, infidel, non-believer, godless. And therefore it is perfectly normal to enslave them. If comitophobia, racism against blacks, was theorized by Arab elites, it is mainly on this Quranic distinction between believer and non-believer that the slave trade will be built. Islam and African collaborations. We must first clarify beforehand that it is not about saying here that black collaborators are the first responsible for the slave trade. Just like Hitler had 150,000 Jews in his army, and that some white Europeans have raided millions of whites in order to deliver them to the Arabs, and that Arabs and Berbers fought other Arabs and Berbers for France in the Algerian War, the role of blacks in the slave trade must not make us forget that the primary responsibles are the sponsors, and therefore the Arabs, Turks and Iranians. Islam entered with violence in Africa from 639. After a bitter war against the first Berbers who were black, Arabs eventually forcibly Islamized the indigenous blacks of the Maghreb. It should be known that every good Muslim has the duty to expand Islam. So the first Berbers, through jihad, came to West Africa in the 11th century under the commandment of the Almoravid Black King Abu Bakr in order to destroy the pearl of the continent at that time, the Vitalist Empire of Ghana. So those blacks from North Africa, through the chaos that they created, opened West Africa to Arabs and therefore to slavery. Through war and persuasion, some Comet black regional chiefs were Islamized, and those ones then applied the jihad to the Vitalist Kamits. Even Ahmed Baba, probably the greatest black scientist, Malian, of the imperial era, while rejecting the curse of Ham, supported the believer-non-believer division and condoned the enslavement of Vitalists. 1. Each holy war enabled to collect infidels who were captives and were then delivered to the Arab slavers. Samari Touré, true hero of the struggle against the French colonial invasion but a radical anti-vitalist, led a jihad in West Africa, delivering other Africans to Arabs. Tipu Tip, a black from Tanzania and descendant of Arabs, literally bled East Africa for 20 years, sowing, with Arabs, absolute terror up to the shores of the Congo River. He is the most famous collaborator in the Arab slave trade. His attitude was entirely similar to that of the famous mulatto princes of São Tomé, sons of Portuguese delinquents and enslaved African women, raised in hatred of blacks, who raided Central Africa with Europeans.